Welcome back to Psychology of Peace Building. Now, if we are going to be true peace builders, we must learn not win-lose, but win-win. And today I want to introduce some of the tools and the approaches of win-win negotiation, conflict resolution, so you can start these practices in your life. I introduced you to reframing positions to identify interests a couple of weeks ago, and most of the activities in the Holding These Truths workbooks are asking you to identify interests because this is a powerful way of diffusing, de-escalating, and preventing violence. Once you have identified the interests and needs of all the people involved in a conflict, you're then ready to identify common ground, shared interests. And this is very powerful when people are in conflict. I have been mediating conflict between different cultures and between different people. Let's see, when did I start? Yeah, I've been doing it for over 30 years. It's been a long time. And being able to identify common ground, shared interests, what Morton Deutsch referred to as cross ties, will change the whole mood of the room and the conflict. Try it and see how it goes for you. Morton Deutsch was a Yale psychologist who was focused on decreasing racial conflict. And in this country, that's been white-black forever, right? Because of the history of this country, with slavery and then emancipation. For some reason, white Americans, and you're going to be watching the classic documentary Bowling for Columbine, the first documentary made on school violence in the United States, and you're going to be seeing this. White Americans don't seem to see any color but black and white. The most paranoid white Americans, those who are actively racist and not concerned about their racism, are focused on black. It's been true throughout my practice as well. I'm absolutely amazed with how Americans won't even see or acknowledge indigenous people, Asian, Hispanic. Doesn't matter so much to them. They just fixate on black. It's sad but true. What he found in trying to decrease racial conflict is we must actively identify cross ties and ways we can benefit from working together. So it's not a competitive, I'm going to get all the goodies, right? And I'm going to show my people how to get all the goodies. No, even though I'm not against all those empowerment movements, what really decreases conflict and builds peace is if we figure out that we are stronger and better if we work together. Yes, as I said in my mediations, when we can do this, and I don't care how angry and entrenched that conflict is, we're on the verge of violence sometimes in the rooms where I work. The mood in the room shifts when people go, oh my goodness, we actually can have better lives if we figure out how to work together. Now, obviously, when I work with divorcing couples who, sad, are hating each other and at war with each other, but they birthed children, so they have to figure out a way normally to co-parent the children and put the interests of the children first, Thank God they don't have the luxury of Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt eternally fighting, because children suffer when adults and parents do that. They're caught in the middle. And this works particularly well with that type of intimate conflict. But when I worked with professionals from throughout the Balkans who were trying to rebuild community and multicultural relations after being at war, was also very powerful to identify what was shared, how people would benefit from working together. Now, the research I share with you in your reading is some of the only case study field-tested research I've found with negotiation. You have, former President Trump and all these people bragging to the world that they're the best negotiators in the world. They're all win-lose people, and they're not the best negotiators in the world. The best negotiators in the world are, in Rackham's research, do some very distinctive things. And one of them is they zealously seek to create options for mutual gain after identifying as much common ground as possible. They create open-ended win-win questions. How can we benefit? Right? That's an open-ended win-win. It's not how can I win, how can I benefit, but how can we benefit together and create several different ideas. Yeah, how can we? How radical, how simple. Now, I'm not going to, this is an introductory class, so I'm not going to keep going with the difference between distributive or meet in the middle negotiation and integrative or win-win, but I've given you some of the powerful tools that you can be using in your daily life to build peace. Good luck.